It was 3 a.m. in the hospital's feeding room, cold, silent, and filled only with the hum of machines. I'm Gina Thompson, 32, a high school English teacher in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the daughter my stepmother never wanted. My son Dylan, born at 26 weeks and barely 2 pounds, was clinging to life in the NICU. His fragile heart fought beneath a web of wires, while I struggled to hold myself together. I typed into our family group chat, "We're in the NICU. It's critical." My fingers trembled, waiting for comfort from my dad, my sister, anyone. Instead, my stepmother, always guarding her grip on our family's real estate empire, sent a single heart emoji from a spa. A heart. That was all she gave while my world was falling apart. I stared at the screen, the silence louder than Dylan's monitors. She had never liked me, the child from my dad's first marriage, a threat to her perfect control. That emoji wasn't compassion. It was a calculated reminder to stay in my place, to stay invisible. I clutched Dylan's tiny hat, my chest tightening with betrayal. They weren't coming. Not my dad, not my sister, not anyone. Something darker was unfolding, and I could feel it tightening around me. I wasn't just alone, I was being erased. Have you ever poured your heart out in a crisis only to be met with silence from the people who should stand by you? Share your story in the comments. What happened when your family turned their backs? I didn't know it then, but that heart emoji was only the beginning of her plan to destroy me. 2 days after that text, my phone was still silent. No calls, no visits. I stood beside Dylan's incubator in the Charlotte NICU, watching the nurses adjust his oxygen tubes with steady hands. My family's real estate business, a cornerstone of Charlotte's upper-middle-class circle, revolved around selling luxury homes to wealthy newcomers. My stepmother Lorraine ran it with an iron grip, her name, synonymous with high-end properties across the city. She'd always seen me as a blemish on her perfect image, Gina Thompson, the high school English teacher, the daughter from my father's first marriage. To her, my choice to teach instead of joining the company only confirmed I didn't belong, a disappointment and a threat to her carefully built empire. Growing up, Lorraine made sure I felt like an outsider. She praised my younger sister Pamela, her own daughter with dad, for every deal she closed as a company lawyer. At 29, Pamela was Lorraine's pride, the golden child who fit her mold perfectly. "Look at your sister," Lorraine would say, her voice heavy with disdain. "She knows how to play the game." My father, once a hands-on builder, had long since stepped back, letting her control both the business and the family. He'd just nod along, too worn down to argue. My husband, Craig, a software engineer, was the only one Lorraine didn't openly mock. His job kept our health insurance vital for Dylan's care. But Craig had been buried in overtime to maintain that coverage, leaving me to face the NICU alone. I spent hours learning the monitors, memorizing every beep that marked Dylan's heart rate or oxygen dips. A nurse showed me how to change his tiny diaper without disturbing the wires, a task that felt like defusing a bomb. Craig would rush in after work, exhausted, whispering, "We'll get through this." But his visits were short, and no matter how kind the nurses were, they couldn't replace family. I kept waiting for Dad or Pamela to show up to ask how Dylan was doing. Nothing came, not a call, not even a message. Then I found out from Karen, one of the nurses, that Lorraine had called earlier. She'd asked about Dylan's condition but added that I was too fragile to handle visitors. That word, fragile, lit a fire in me. Lorraine wasn't just ignoring me. She was spreading lies to keep Dad and Pamela away. She'd done it before, twisting stories to make me look unstable, like when she told Dad my teenage outbursts were hysteria. Now, with my baby fighting for his life, she was doing it again, making sure no one reached me. It wasn't neglect, it was control. I tried calling Pamela, hoping she'd see through Lorraine's manipulation. Her phone rang out unanswered. Dad's did too. I didn't bother with Lorraine. Her silence was loud enough. My friend Tracy, a nurse here, became my anchor. During her breaks, she'd sit beside me, offering quiet strength. "You're stronger than they think," she said, handing me a bottle of water. The hospital was barely a 15-minute drive from Lorraine's office, but it might as well have been another world. Her empire thrived on appearances, and I was the imperfection she couldn't afford. I held Dylan's tiny foot, whispering a promise I would fight for both of us. By the end of the first week, I was scrolling through my phone during a break when I saw it. Lorraine had posted a photo on Instagram from a lavish party at her company's downtown Charlotte office. She and Pamela stood shoulder to shoulder, dressed in tailored suits, clinking glasses with a client. The caption read, "Sealing the biggest villa deal in our history." Their smiles were dazzling, carefree, as if my son's fight for life in the NICU was just background noise. My chest tightened as I stared at the screen, the glow of celebration mocking my grief. My hand trembled around the phone. I wanted to confront them, to ask how they could toast success while my world was falling apart. Instead, I swiped away the image, searing itself into my memory. Sitting beside Dylan's incubator, I felt the full weight of their betrayal. Lorraine had always kept me at arm's length, the child who didn't belong to her. This party, this post, it was her way of showing the world her picture-perfect family without me. Pamela, my younger sister, was right there, smiling at her side, her laughter cutting through me like glass. I opened the family group chat and typed, "Dylan still in critical condition. Anyone care?" My thumb hovered, then I deleted it. They didn't deserve to see how much they'd hurt me. Tracy found me soon after, her nurse's badge catching the fluorescent light. "What's wrong?" she asked, reading my expression. I handed her the phone. She frowned, shaking her head. "This isn't just cruel," she said quietly. "Lorraine's shaping the story, Gina. She's keeping you out on purpose." Tracy told me about her own stepfather, who once isolated her mother from relatives during a medical crisis. "It's about power," she said. "You're not her daughter, so she's making sure you're alone." Her words hit me hard, confirming what I already feared. Lorraine wasn't ignoring us, she was orchestrating my isolation. I couldn't bear to open the family chat again. I stopped checking it, stopped waiting for a response that would never come. Instead, I found comfort among other NICU mothers in the hospital lounge. There was Emily, whose son was born at 25 weeks, and Lisa, whose daughter needed heart surgery. We created a small WhatsApp group celebrating tiny victories: Emily's son maintaining his oxygen levels, Lisa's baby passing a medical test. When I posted that Dylan had his first stable day, their messages poured in, genuine, kind, real. These women, bound by fear and hope, became the family mine refused to be. Tracy kept me steady, bringing snacks or sitting quietly beside me during the long nights. "Lorraine's afraid of you," she said one evening, her voice low but certain. "You're your father's daughter, not hers. That's why she's doing this." Her words sank deep. I thought about every time Lorraine had sidelined me: family gatherings where she pretended I wasn't there, company events I was never invited to. Now, with Dylan's life hanging in the balance, her cruelty had become deliberate. The hospital was only a 20-minute drive from that glittering party, yet Lorraine and Pamela chose champagne over compassion. I saved the post, a piece of evidence I'd keep. I didn't know what would come next, but one thing was clear: I was done being invisible. 2 weeks into Dylan's fight, I was in the hospital cafeteria staring at a cold sandwich when my phone buzzed, then again and again. 47 missed calls, all from Pamela. My heart slammed against my ribs. 47 wasn't concern, it was panic. I called her back with shaking fingers. She answered on the first ring. "Gina, finally." Her voice cracked, breathless. "It's Dad. He's at Presbyterian Hospital. They think it's severe exhaustion. He collapsed at home this morning." I shot up so fast the chair scraped the floor. "What, is he awake? Is he okay?" "He's stable, but they're running tests." "Lorraine's here with me." "Everyone is. Dad keeps asking why you're not coming." Her voice softened. "He's hurt, Gina. He thinks you don't want us there." The words hit like a fist. "He thinks I don't want him there." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Pamela, I've been alone for 2 weeks. Not one visit, Not one call. Lorraine told the nurses I was too fragile for visitors. She's the one keeping you away. Silence stretched. Then Pamela whispered. She told us the doctors banned everyone because of your mental state. She said you were on the edge of a breakdown and needed total isolation. My knees buckled. I gripped the table. She said what she swore the hospital staff confirmed it. Dad believed her because of what happened after your miscarriage last year, how depressed you got. She used that to convince him he was protecting you by staying away. Pamela's voice trembled. I believed her too. I closed my eyes, the cafeteria noise fading. Every unanswered text, every empty day suddenly made horrible sense. Lorraine hadn't just ignored me, she'd built a wall of lies so thick no one could reach me. My own father thought he was doing the right thing by abandoning his grandson. I'm on my way, Pamela said. I'll be at the NICU in 20 minutes. I need to see Dylan and hear everything from you. I hung up and stared at the phone. 47 missed calls. My little sister, the one Lorraine had raised to worship her, was finally asking questions. For the first time in weeks, hope flickered, small, dangerous, but real. Pamela arrived still in her work suit, hair pulled back, eyes red. She scrubbed in like the nurses showed her hands raw under the harsh soap. When she stepped up to Dylan's incubator, she froze. Oh my God, she breathed. He's so small. I watched her reach one finger through the porthole, touching his foot the way I did every hour. Something shifted in her face. The polished lawyer mask cracked wide open. She lied to all of us, Pamela said quietly. I asked Dad point blank in the hallway. He showed me texts from Lorraine, screenshots of supposed conversations with doctors, warnings about your postpartum instability. He thought he was following medical advice. Rage rose hot and clean. There were never any doctors. She made it all up. Pamela turned to me, eyes blazing. I know. I just called the hospital social worker. There's no record of any visitor ban. Lorraine never even filled out the family contact form. She pulled out her phone. I'm collecting every message and email. As a company lawyer, I have access to her work accounts. If she used company resources to spread this, it's over for her. I stared at my sister, 29, fierce, finally seeing the woman who raised her for what she was. Why now, I asked. Because Dad almost died believing he was protecting you, she said, her voice breaking. And because I looked at Dylan and realized I've been part of this. I let her convince me you didn't want us here. She wiped her eyes. I'm done being her puppet. For the first time in weeks, someone from my blood stood on my side of the glass. Pamela took photos of Dylan, asked the nurses questions, demanded updates. When Craig arrived later, exhausted from work, he found both of us there, sisters again, guarding our tiny fighter. That night, Pamela sent me a single text. I've got everything. Tomorrow we end this. I held the phone to my chest, Dylan's monitors beeping steady in the background. The wall Lorraine built was about to come crashing down, and my little sister was holding the hammer. The next morning, Pamela walked into the NICU, her expression tight with anger. She dropped her purse onto a chair and scrubbed her hands at the sink, each movement sharp like she was preparing for battle. I checked Lorraine's emails last night. She said, her voice low but firm. She's been lying to everyone, Gina, not just about you, but about Dad too. I stood by Dylan's incubator, my hand resting on the plastic shield above his tiny body. What did you find? Pamela pulled out her phone, scrolling through a thread of messages. She told the company board that Dad was stepping back voluntarily due to health concerns. But I found emails she sent to a lawyer discussing how to transfer his shares into her name. She's been planning this for months, using his collapse to push him out completely. Her eyes flashed. And about you, she emailed Dad's cousin saying you were too unstable to see anyone, that you'd suffered a breakdown after Dylan was born. My breath caught. She's calling me crazy to keep me out of the family. Exactly. Pamela slipped her phone back into her pocket. She's afraid you'll challenge her control over the company. You're Dad's first daughter, Gina. Legally, you have a claim to his stake even if you've never pursued it. She's been isolating you to make sure you stay invisible. I sank into a chair, my mind racing. Lorraine's lies weren't just personal, they were strategic. Every ignored message, every silence was part of her plan to erase me. I looked at Dylan, his chest rising beneath the monitors, and felt defiance flare in my chest. She wasn't going to win. We need to confront her, Pamela said, pacing. I can pull more records, contracts, board meeting notes. If she's been using company resources to spread lies, that's fraud. We'll do it together in front of Dad and her top client. She won't be able to talk her way out. I nodded, heart pounding. When tomorrow night at the company's monthly dinner, her biggest investor will be there. We show up, lay out the evidence, and force her to explain herself. Pamela's tone was steel. She's not getting away with this. The plan felt like a lifeline, but it also terrified me. Lorraine had spent years building walls around me. Could we really tear them down? I glanced at Dylan, his tiny fingers curled, and knew I had to try. For him. For us. Tracy came in during her break, her nurse's badge glinting under the fluorescent light. She saw the tension on my face and sat down. "What's going on?" she asked, calm but sharp. I told her everything: Pamela's discovery, Lorraine's emails, the lies about my mental health. Tracy listened, her expression darkening. "That's textbook manipulation," she said. "My stepmother did the same thing when I was a kid. She told my dad I was troubled, to keep me out of family events. She didn't want to share his attention. It's about control. She decided who got to matter." I stared at her. "That's exactly what Lorraine's doing. She's the gatekeeper, deciding who's allowed to belong." Tracy nodded. "And gatekeepers hate being challenged. You and Pamela are about to hit her where it hurts her reputation. She'll fight dirty, so you need to be ready." She leaned in. When I confronted my stepmother, I had to rehearse what I'd say, keep my voice steady, no matter how she twisted things. Practice with Pamela. Don't let Lorraine derail you. That afternoon, Pamela and I sat in the NICU family lounge planning our moves. She opened her laptop, pulling up documents, emails, meeting minutes, even a draft contract transferring Dad's shares. "This is our ammo," she said. "We walk in, show the client these lies, and demand answers. Lorraine built her entire career on trust. If we expose her, she's finished." I practiced my lines, my voice trembling at first. "Lorraine, why did you tell everyone I was unstable?" I said, imagining her cold stare. "Why did you lie about Dad's health to steal control of the company?" Pamela coached me, her lawyer's precision cutting through my nerves. "Don't let her see fear. Stick to facts." Craig slipped into the lounge, eyes heavy from another long shift. "What's this about?" he asked. I explained the plan, and he squeezed my hand. "You've got this," he said. "She's underestimated both of you." Tracy's words echoed as we worked. Lorraine was the gatekeeper, but I wasn't alone anymore. Pamela and I spent hours refining our approach, predicting Lorraine's defenses. My sister's determination fueled mine. For years, Lorraine had pushed me out, but now I had her own daughter standing beside me. Dylan's steady beeps anchored me, a reminder of why I was fighting. By evening, the plan was set. Pamela would present the company evidence. I'd confront Lorraine about her lies. We'd do it in front of Dad and the client, forcing her to face the truth. I looked at my son, his tiny body fighting, and felt a fire I hadn't known in years. Lorraine's reign was about to end. That evening, I stood in the hospital's family lounge, my heart pounding but steady. The room smelled of coffee and antiseptic, a stark contrast to the sterile NICU where Dylan fought for his life. Pamela stood beside me, laptop open, evidence ready. Dad sat in a wheelchair, pale but alert after his collapse. Across from us sat Lorraine, posture rigid, unaware of the storm about to hit. Next to her was Robert, one of her key investors, visiting Dad out of concern. This was the moment we'd been waiting for. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Lorraine, why did you tell everyone I was too unstable to see my family?" My voice held firm, though my hands trembled. "Why did you lie about a hospital ban to keep them away from Dylan?" Her eyes narrowed, but she forced a soft smile. Gina, you're upset. I was only protecting you. The doctors said you needed space after such a traumatic birth. That's not true, I said sharply, holding up my phone. I spoke with the NICU staff. There was no ban, no doctor's order. You told Dad and Pamela I was having a breakdown, but you never even contacted the hospital social worker. Pamela stepped forward, voice cutting through the air. She's right. I verified it myself. But I also found your emails, Lorraine. She turned her laptop toward the group, displaying a series of messages. You told Dad's cousins Gina was too fragile for visitors. And you informed the company board that Dad was stepping down voluntarily due to health issues while secretly drafting documents to transfer his shares into your name. Dad's head jerked up. What? My shares. His voice was weak but heavy with shock. Lorraine, you told me it was temporary, that I'd stay on the board. Robert leaned forward, his expression dark. You told me Michael approved the transition. I invested millions based on your word. If this is true, it's fraud. Lorraine's jaw tightened, but she waved a dismissive hand. This is all a misunderstanding. I was protecting the company's reputation. Gina's been emotional, everyone knows that. And Michael's health was declining. I had to make difficult decisions. Enough, I said, my voice slicing through her excuses. You didn't just lie about me, you abandoned Dylan. You knew he was in the NICU fighting for his life, and you chose to throw parties and spread rumors instead of showing up. You've spent years pushing me out because I'm Dad's daughter from his first marriage, not yours. You're terrified I'd challenge your control. Pamela's eyes blazed. There's more, Robert. Lorraine used company funds to hire a PR firm for family image management. She paid them to erase mentions of Gina and Dylan to make the company look perfect, while she pushed Dad aside. Robert stood abruptly, his tone cold. This isn't just a family dispute, it's a matter of integrity. My firm supported your projects because we trusted you, Lorraine. If you lied about your family, what else have you hidden? Lorraine's mask cracked. You're twisting everything, she hissed. I built this company from nothing. I gave everything to this family, unlike Gina, who's never cared about it. Dad's voice cut through the tension, quiet but resolute. You kept me from my daughter and grandson. You told me Gina didn't want me there. I trusted you, Lorraine. His eyes filled with regret as he turned to me. I'm so sorry, Gina. I should have come sooner. The room fell silent, his words echoing. I blinked back tears. You didn't know Dad. She made sure of that. Pamela moved closer, placing a steady hand on my arm. We're done letting her control us. I've already sent the emails to the board. They're calling an emergency meeting tomorrow. Lorraine, your time's up. Lorraine's eyes darted between us, panic creeping into her voice. You think you can destroy me? I've held this family together. Without me, everything falls apart. No, I said, my tone unflinching. You don't get to play the savior. You've manipulated everyone to keep your power, but that ends now. Dylan and I don't need you. You're not my family. Robert shook his head, pulling out his phone. I'm contacting my legal team. We'll be reviewing every contract with your firm. This level of deceit is unacceptable. Lorraine's face went pale. You're making a mistake, she muttered, but her voice had lost all force. She grabbed her purse and stormed out, her heels clicking furiously down the hall. Dad reached for my hand, his grip weak but warm. I failed you, Gina. I let her blind me. I want to be part of your life, and Dylan's now. I squeezed his hand, my throat tightening. You're here now, Dad. That's what matters. Pamela wrapped me in a trembling hug, her usual composure gone. We'll fix this, she whispered. Together. As they left to see Dylan, I remained in the lounge, exhaustion settling over me like a wave. Lorraine's lies had finally crumbled, and for the first time in years, I felt truly free. A month after that confrontation, Dylan was finally home, tiny but a fighter. At just 5 pounds, he fit perfectly in the crook of my arm, his soft breaths a miracle after 6 weeks in the NICU. I'd blocked Lorraine's number and deleted her from my life like a bad memory. Pamela told me the fallout had been swift. Robert, the investor, withdrew his funding after the board meeting, citing a breach of trust. With the company's finances collapsing, Lorraine had no choice but to sell. The empire she'd clung to so fiercely was gone, and I felt no pity. I turned my focus to building my own family, the one that truly mattered. Pamela visited every weekend, trading her lawyer's suits for jeans, as she played with Dylan on a blanket. Dad, still recovering, came too, his eyes lighting up each time he held his grandson. Their presence filled the quiet spaces Lorraine had left behind. Craig, finally free from endless overtime, spent hours assembling Dylan's crib, his steady hands a comfort I leaned on. The group chat with Emily and Lisa, my NICU friends, buzzed every day with updates, photos of their babies, feeding tips, or just messages of encouragement. Tracy often stopped by after her shifts, bringing coffee and stories that made me laugh. These were the people who showed up, who chose us, and I held them close. For Dylan's first birthday, I planned a small celebration at our home in Charlotte. The living room was simple, no grand decorations, just a few balloons and a tiny cake I'd baked myself. Craig set up the table, smiling softly as he adjusted the borrowed high chair. Pamela arrived early, carrying a stuffed bear almost as big as Dylan. "For my favorite nephew," she said, kissing his forehead. Dad followed, moving slowly but smiling wider than I'd seen in years. Tracy came straight from the hospital, still in scrubs, with a gift bag full of baby books. Emily and Lisa brought their kids, now toddling around, their laughter filling the house. We gathered around the cake, Dylan's eyes wide as I lit a single candle. Craig's arm rested on my shoulder, steady and warm. Pamela snapped photos, her face glowing with pride. Dad raised a glass of sparkling cider, his voice thick with emotion. "To Dylan, the strongest fighter I know," he said. We cheered, and I blew out the candle for my son, who clapped his tiny hands, unaware of how far we'd come. As we ate, Pamela pulled me aside. "The company's officially sold," she said. "Lorraine's moving to Raleigh. She tried calling Dad, but he won't answer." I nodded, feeling a weight lift. Lorraine was finally out of our lives. Her schemes buried under the wreckage she'd created. Later, I sat on the porch with Tracy, Dylan asleep in my lap. "You did it," she said softly. "You built a family that's real, not one she could control." I looked at the people around me, Craig, Pamela, Dad, my NICU friends. They weren't bound by blood alone, but by choice, by showing up when it mattered. Lorraine had tried to define family as an empire built on power and control. She was wrong. Family is who stands by you, who sees your worth, who fights for you as fiercely as you fight for them. I learned that the hard way, but it's a lesson I'll carry forever.